You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.
Welcome to the Social Workers Radio Talk Show. I'm your co-host, Alyssa Lotmore, and today we're joined by Jonathan Jones. Jonathan Jones is the Commissioner of Recreation, Youth, and Workforce Services for the City of Albany. He has served in that role since January 2014. He is a member of the 2016 class of the Albany Business Review's 40 Under 40. Jonathan is also an alum of the University at Albany, earning both his bachelor's in sociology and his master's in education administration and policy studies. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Alyssa.
Well, I'm glad you're coming back. Last time we spoke and you were on the show, it was right when everything was closing down with COVID. And you talked a lot about what your department was going to be doing and the changes that they were, you had to make as, you're the Department of Youth and Workforce Services. So everything changed in terms of how you're delivering services to our youth, how you're doing things with employment. So let's start off with what your office does in general in non-COVID times. What are you responsible for?
Yeah, so in non-COVID times, the Department of Recreation is responsible for managing our community centers, our facilities like our boxing gym and our ice rink, as well as all fields, playgrounds, basketball courts, tennis courts, and pools in the city. And then the Department of Youth and Workforce Services has two physical spaces, one at 175 Central Ave and another at 382 Clinton Avenue. And our job is to provide job training or job seeking opportunities for people and job training resources for people. So if you are underemployed or unemployed, you can come into one of those two spaces and get a chance to understand what's happening in the labor market. As well as understand and, if you need to upskill, maybe you want to move up in your company, there might be certifications available to you. And that's funded by the federal government and some state grants. So it's a combination of all three departments are public facing. And so COVID presented a particular challenge in how do we serve people and at the same time serve them at a time when they really need us. Our unemployment rate doubled in from this time last year and this year. And so we went virtual on a lot of things and we've learned a lot and hope to apply them even as we, get more closer to normal. We're still going to be, in this current state of virtual, resources for quite a while.
No, what's the demand been like? Like you said, the unemployment rate has skyrocketed since this time last year. How have people in the community been reaching out? And are there any new services that you offered? I know now they're virtual, but are there any different types of services that you're offering or a different way of looking at it because there are limited jobs right now? So many people have been impacted and unemployment's so high right now.
Well, I think that a lot of people didn't realize before COVID how needed technology would be. And so we have a lot of people coming into our Youth and Workforce Services Department by appointment, or they're reaching out to us and they're realizing that they need to better understand and better use technology, whether that is to go back into a job that they may have been laid off from or may have now moved into a virtual space. And beforehand, they were at a location doing that job. There has been some retraining opportunities, but many of the training opportunities were closed down for COVID. And so what our department did was we realized that YouTube is something that people can get resources from. So we created a YouTube page that kind of just goes over a little bit who we are. It's under the name Albany American Job Center. And it goes over making the most of virtual job interviews, tuition assistance and how to get that for career advancement, resume prep and career exploration, and then an introduction of who our staff is. And we felt that was important because there's a lot of people doing virtual job fairs. There's actually a virtual job fair happening right now that we posted early in January. But there's 38 businesses that are there, including the post office, Whitney Young. I'm just going off a few that are there. But a lot of those jobs that pre-COVID required people to go into the office are now requiring them to have some background in technology, whether that's using a Zoom platform or some other platform to communicate. And so that's where most of our training, retraining has been focused on.
And you never realized how much you need to know technology until you're forced to. How who would ever think that we'd be navigating, Zoom and doing breakout rooms and all of this for our day-to-day operations. Even my third grader is doing the same thing and knows about Zoom and how to navigate things because that's how she has to do things.
Right, right. Yeah, it's definitely a change of dynamics. I mean, even in terms of when you think about where we were in terms of a connectivity standpoint, one of the things that we're realizing is that there is a fatigue to this virtual reality piece. And how are we getting the human element back to public service? So if you're working with people all day and now you've been forced to be online, how are you, when everything goes back to normal or whatever our new normal is, how are you going to be able to reconnect to people mentally? So there's another component to this, that the mental health side of it, that we hope the recreation department is able to kind of touch on and really just help people get an escape away from the computer, because it's very difficult to look at this all day.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, the recreation piece, because you're the commissioner of both, of Youth and Workforce Services and also the Department of Recreation. And I was reading an article the other day, and it was saying that so many people are not going outside and getting that exercise, even kids who aren't in school right now. It's like an endless summer. It's been a 10-month summer for some of these kids where they're home eating, not their normal meals at schools that have a mix of nutrients. They're not having those gym classes. Youth sports have been canceled for, a long period of time. And they said there's an increase in the rate of obesity among kids. And what does your department see as ways to tackle that?
Yeah, well, the first thing we did was realize that we built trust with our community through our employees. So that's our rec staff, that's the people in your community centers and your boxing gym at your ice rink. And so fortunately, we were able to retain everyone through the COVID. That was a big piece for us to be able to retain our staff. But we created a YouTube channel at Recreation Albany. And if you go into Albany Rec, and basically we're calling it Activate Albany. How do we reactivate and activate Albany and keep Albany active? So we have videos on there where you're doing a full body workout with a trainer that you would normally see in our boxing gym, who's certified. We're teaching Japanese, just a new skill that people can pick up. One of our rec aides is he's a Japanese instructor. We're also doing science experiments that parents can do with their kids at home, just so that they can have that family engagement time. And so there's the yoga piece that we're doing with our instructor. And what we're trying to do is create the atmosphere online that you would have in one of our physical locations with the same people you would see in those locations that you know and trust.
I like that. It's a good way to help feel that connection. And I think that's one of the things, especially for kids and even adults too. How do we, like you said, recreate that connection? So when we do go back to normal or this new normal, how can we still be able to engage and be able to have that connection with another individual person? Because it really is critical for that mental health piece.
It really is. And just as a human, right? As a human being, we're connected to each other's. And as a sociologist, I think about this often, but I'm just glad that we were able to use a platform like YouTube to be able to reach our community members, and at the same time reach them in things that are new to us. Our department has never focused on other languages, and that's just something that came from our rec aide who said, "Hey, listen, I've learned the skill. I love teaching people. I would love to do this on the channel." And it's been something that a lot of people look at and are excited about. And then for the other piece is getting back to cooking with our kids, understanding that what we put in our bodies has an impact on our overall physical health and mental health. And so we're doing these cooking classes with our director and some of our rec aides, and that's been exciting as well.
And that's all virtual, where people can use YouTube and catch it?
Yes, you can use YouTube and catch it. And sometimes there are clips that we put on Instagram that are kind of like snapshots of what the full YouTube is, but our YouTube channel is the go-to, and that's Albany Rec if you search on YouTube.
Now, I know there's been work even pre-COVID to help increase the ability for people to access the internet, all over the city. And what has been being done, or if anything new, to help individuals, especially youth who might not have internet access at home and now libraries are closed? Is there any ways for youth to be able to, and even individuals who might be needing to apply for jobs or access some of these videos? Are there things that the city is doing to help connect individuals and get them access to the internet?
Well, I could tell you the one thing that we started to do last year is still a work in progress, and that is put free Wi-Fi in our parks. And that was a partnership. That is a partnership with the public library. And the reason for that is because that's a space that we own and then could utilize it during the summer and when warmer months to continue this virtual programming at our park locations and be socially distant. In terms of getting more internet access to the people of the city of Albany, I can't really speak on that piece, but I can tell you that, our public library and the city, we work hand in hand with each other. And our initiative to start in the parks was also an initiative to reach neighborhoods. Most of our parks are in our neighborhoods. And so that was an effort. We're still working on that, but that was one of the efforts we started right before things, went to the COVID area.
No, I remember hearing about that. That's why I wanted to ask. I wasn't sure of all the details, but I remember hearing you had a collaboration with the library, and that's what I wanted to. I'm glad you touched on that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the big things that the city usually does in your department is the summer youth jobs, the youth employment. And I don't even know how that's going to work this year with so many places closed. And will there be any ability for youth to get that experience starting to work, or is that going to be on hold this year, or you don't know yet?
No, it's not going to be on hold. We're pressing forward. We are planning for a application release on March 1st, and young people will have between March 1st and March 31st to sign up. As of right now, it's open to all residents, and it's just open for the ability to apply to the program. We haven't, secured a number of jobs yet. We're still in the early process of that. And with things opening back up, we believe that by the time the summer comes, we'll be able to have a full program. And, one thing that we're really proud about is last year, although we had a reduced program because of funding constraints, all of the young people, the 302 that were enrolled, were on physical sites. They were socially distant. On Fridays, they went virtual for their enrichment sites. But I can report that we had no incidents, no health scares, no COVID, no positive COVID tests. We were able to have that 5-week experience for our young people. It was a reduced number than we're typically having, but for those who were able to participate, they did get a lot out of it, and they were able to make some connections at some local businesses that welcomed them, and they were able to contribute. So even during a time where we were unsure, we did start and stop the program, the registration part of it, and then get to the point where we started in the full summer. But we went 5 weeks. Our young people who participated were active, and they were safe. And we learned a lot from that. So we'll have a digital application this year, as we did last year. There will be required to drop off some sensitive information, but that'll be at a no-touch point. And so we're working with our schools right now to begin that messaging. That probably will start on February. So you're the first person to hear of the new date. But at the same time, we're excited to have another opportunity to work with our young people, because this program, as we found, exposure leads to expansion. And we're finding that our young people are starting to expand their career pathway opportunities just by being in this program. And we have the data to prove that it helps their overall academic success. But more importantly, we're having our young people now start businesses. And so we had some young people last year start some businesses that are not only creating, family income, but it's also helping them be leaders in their own right with their peers.
No, it's a great program. And I asked about it because I was a member of the Summer Youth Employment Program. I did it since I was in high school. It was a really powerful program for me. I did it for 4 years. I was at same location. I was at the City of Albany's personnel department. That was my summer job every year. And then I actually got hired after that as a summer intern and came back all through college. So it was just valuable connections, being able to, I was learning about, human resources, benefits. I got the political aspect because I was right in City Hall, but it was a really wonderful program and experience for me. And that's why I always like to ask about it, because I don't think people always realize that the power of a summer job and being able to network and learn new skills that you wouldn't have learned otherwise.
Right.
So I'm glad that the program is, still thriving and can even be done in these times of COVID.
Yeah. It's something where we're very proud of it. The other thing is, I think our young people get an early opportunity to know what they do not want to do. A lot of times it's what they want to do, but you could try a job, get paid over 5 weeks, and then realize after that 5-week experience, all right, after next year or as I get older, this is not a career track that I want to follow. And that's okay. I mean, that is okay. But what we found during COVID is those who have been most affected from an employment standpoint have been our young people under 24, right? So our 14 to 24-year-olds, their unemployment rate is double the national unemployment rate. And a lot of that has to do with, as people get older, they have to continue to stay in the workforce. But, through an opportunity like this, our young people in the city of Albany will still have an opportunity to earn some income through this program.
That's really, really exciting. So is there any other news or announcements or things that we should be looking forward to from either of your departments?
Well, yeah, just in the summer, as we're planning, we're working very closely with our county Department of Health. And we are planning to still have our normal programming. So we're looking forward to bringing back our summer camp series. We're looking forward to bringing back our play streets, which we started last year. And that was bringing neighborhood resources and activities to people on their street. And then we will be doing some parks over. We were successful last year to redo Black Lives Matter Park, formerly Livingston Park in West Hill, and then Franklin Street Park, which is on Herkimer Street, in between Franklin and Herkimer Street in the South End. And so we'll be having ribbon cuttings for those playgrounds in May. Those will be socially distant, and all who are able to come, we're asked that you wear a mask. And then we'll continue construction on some new playgrounds this year, Phillip Street in the South End, Westland Hills, and Ridgefield. So we're very hopeful that our work in terms of modernizing our city playgrounds will continue. But at the same time, we're also mindful that if things are subject to change, which we believe we're on the right track moving forward, we'll be back to normal in providing these programs that people love and are so traditional in our city.
No, I think it's great. I've been at the ribbon cuttings for the Rosemont Park and then Buckingham Pond Park, because it's just such a community resource, having parks in all different neighborhoods. It's not like you have to travel too far to find a park in the city of Albany. There's one pretty much wherever neighborhood you live in, and the fact that you're making them better, more accessible, and making sure that each neighborhood has that place where kids can just go and have a safe space to play, where families can go together. I'm really glad that you're expanding the number of parks in the city.
Yeah, all credit to Mayor Sheehan and even our state senator Neil Breslin. We worked with him the last 2 years to make this happen. But Mayor Sheehan challenged me in 2014 to modernize every single park in our city. We've been able to do that almost 20 times now since I started 8 years ago. And I appreciate her and her staff putting the resources behind it, and also the senator realizing that the city was in a position where we needed some fiscal help. And for the senator to be able to, provide some resources for us to continue our ADA play equipment in our neighborhoods is amazing, especially during this time when everyone is going to be wanting to get outside as soon as the weather breaks. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the hardest things for my daughter when everything started closing down. Was we were at the park every day after school, usually, and not being able to go to the park, that was one of the things where she's just like, Mom, I really want to go to the park. So I'm so glad that they're back open, and hopefully they'll be able to stay open through the summer. And it can really be that spot where people can safely gather outdoors, with masks and socially distance, but still be able to have that exercise, have fun, and get some fresh air and that vitamin D.
Yeah, and just one other quick thing on that, something I'm really proud about in these parks, and you mentioned Rosemont. Before our administration came on in 2014, there were no physical workout stations in our parks. there were you had some bars in different areas, some pull-up bars in different areas, and you had some rings at Washington Park. But now we have 7 dedicated workout physical location gym areas in our parks. 4 of them have bikes. So that is something that I'm really happy that even though our gyms have closed in our indoor spaces, when the weather breaks outside, you can get the same workout that you would get in the gym outside at our physical playground. And as a dad who has young children, I can get my workout while my kids are playing on the playground and still be in close contact with them and keep an eye on them. So that's something that I think our city should really be proud about, that we've been able to do that.
I'm thrilled about that. You know, you are a former teammate of mine, so we definitely like to make sure that athletic component is incorporated into the parks as well.
Absolutely.
It's a great thing for all members, especially like you said, we're both parents, to be able to get a workout in while our kids are having fun. It's just a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Jonathan, I want to thank you so much for coming on today and really just giving an update about what's going on in the city with Youth and Workforce Services and the Department of Recreation. I mean, that mental health piece is so important. And, you know, we're a social work radio talk show, but knowing what our resources are, you know, for those who are trying to find a job, find employment, for youth who are trying to gain that initial employment experience, for people trying to get engaged and back in shape, you know, since they've been inside for so long. Your departments are a critical resource for Albany residents. And I want to thank you for coming on to talk about that, and so people know what we can expect in the upcoming months.
Thank you so much. You know, all the credit goes to our wonderful staff in all 3 departments. They really make my job easy. They care so deeply. And we're excited to do this. This is what we do. And you know, I'm excited for you and thankful for you, because we need to talk more about the mental health aspects of what is happening right now in our society. And I just, you know, ask everyone to continue to be patient, continue to love yourself, spread positive energy. And thank you again for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much. Again, we were joined with Jonathan Jones, who is the Commissioner of Recreation, Youth, and Workforce Services for the City of Albany. He's also a UAlbany alum. So thanks so much, Jonathan.
Thank you.
You're listening to The Social Workers on WCDB Albany.